I actually want to start with Ioana and Rucsandra from Fragile because I know that Fragile is actually a bigger project and we only watched one episode of it today. And I wanted to ask you whether you can tell us all a bit more about Fragile and how it was received, whether you had women who, came to you and what was the reaction of it, and tell us more about the project as well, please.
So Fragile started basically as a web documentary, having at the beginning 10 episodes. And the idea started during the pandemics, when me and Rucsandra had a lot of meetings, and eventually somehow she asked me what I want to do besides acting, or adding to my acting thing in a social way of speaking. So I said I want to be the mirror of vulnerable women in vulnerable situations, and how do you want to do that? And I said I want to hear their stories, and then I want to play them, because we usually see these kind of stories, women in very vulnerable situations, starting from domestic violence and human trafficking and all kinds of stories. But we read about them, we hear about them maybe, but we never see those faces, we never see those women. And in a way, it's a lot of shame. We live in a mentality that somehow is living in shame and blame and fear, and I don't want to talk about these things, let's not talk, let's not see, let's not hear about them. So I said, okay, let's bring them to light. And that was the first idea that we had, that people have to see their stories, because it's much more impactful when you see somebody speaking about this than when you hear or read. Then we got a real proper team, like me, Rucsandra, Ioana who ended up by being the director and producer. We had a grant from American Embassy, yeah. So we got then people started gathering around it because of believing in that. So we had a PR team, a whole PR team, a whole web designer team that created that platform. And we researched these 10 stories of 10 different women in 10 different vulnerable situations, and not only just pain and sorrow, and but also women in politics, or Wonder Woman. We had a story about the Wonder Woman, also a kind of from different parts of our society, actually. A woman who is very successful in her job and family and everything, but she eventually got sick because she wanted so much from herself. So we wanted to pick women from all kind of social environments, and very, very different stories. All of the stories have a painful moment, and all of the stories have a graceful moment when they, in a way or another, managed to overcome those problems, and this way become an example for other women who are in similar situations. And then I was playing all the characters. This one today, this one wasn't with me, because after 10 episodes I said, okay, I have to just move on a little bit and let other actresses play and show another stories, because it was a young girl. For me, it was very challenging. If you want to check, the platform is still there. It's fragile.live, and it has all the 10 episodes and all our story, the theme, the story, and what do we want to do with that. And I will introduce Rucsandra to tell you what is our goal with these stories. Not just to see people to see it, but what we want more out of it.
Thank you, Ioana. I just want to kind of mention again the fact that the stories and the words that Ioana is uttering and Anna Radu was uttering today in that movie are the exact words of the women we have interviewed. It's nothing that it's kind of a documentary film, but produced in a different way. And to give you a bigger picture, the thing that we really wanted, and I think that it's a powerful thing because we are the Feminist Film Festival, was also to show that there is a network of support, and that most of women who are facing problems have the opportunity to find organizations, non-governmental organizations, who will support them. It's a pity that it's non-governmental organizations and not the state who should have this support network and offer, I don't know, enough shelter for victims of domestic violence or this kind of things. But still, there are many organizations that are fighting for women's rights, and it's important, it was important, we felt it was important to show also the existence of these organizations. So for each story, we worked with organizations, we went and we said, we want to tell a story about, I don't know, domestic violence or psychic abuse and emotional abuse. Thank you. That's why we're a team. These organizations cooperated with us in finding the women who would love to share their stories. And in the project, we also talked about this network of support. And moreover, this project took us one step further, and we are now in a point where we created our own organization, which is called Fragile Society, and which wants to be connector, and not only a connector, but to amplify the voice of the NGOs, local NGOs who are working on women's rights, and to use what we know, I mean, techniques from the arts, acting, documenting, writing, storytelling, to be able to amplify the voices of very different and various women.
And now about this episode you saw, actually it was the first one that properly went into communities. That was the next step we did. So this was made alongside our PR team and Tineri pentru Tineri. It's an NGO who has a very nice way of work. Actually, they use youngsters, young people, teenagers, to educate other teenagers. So they first form them, work with them, and then those teenagers go into schools and talk about different things with other teenagers. So they implemented this one into how many schools? I know, around 10 schools or 12 schools in Bucharest and Ilfov. So this was a kind of educative tool for those young people from the high schools, for teenagers, because sexual education is not yet existent in our schools, and I think that it's very necessary, because anyway kids will see from online stuff all kind of things that parents can't even imagine. So we better make it in our way in order to provide them some information they need, because Romania is still one of the lead countries in birth of teen pregnancy, yeah, like 44%. It's very much, it's a lot, so that's why we did this. And other projects will follow the same path. Wherever it needs a message, we will try to make it in a form or another to make a better world. Now, first of all, I don't think that person in Kosovo would have ever accepted to be seen. That's why we did this. That's why if you check the fragile.live, you will see 10 different stories, and each of us as actors try to do as good as we can in a way to change our identities in order to be much closer to the real character. But yes, this is a real problem because they would have never appeared and tell their stories. There's a woman in Fragile, on them, the lady, Wonder Woman lady, who didn't even want to share anything with anybody. It's a top secret. I mean, it's under key. All the Zoom recordings with her, all of her voice memos and everything. So that's why we wanted to do this, because it's much more impactful. Regarding the acting side, each actor is in his own way, you know, and of course it's not a real documentary, it's kind of a mockumentary, because it takes a real person, takes his word, blah, 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 it's not that person. I wouldn't mind that, as long as the message can go on, because those women would have never accepted that.
I would also like to add something. The fact that we use actresses got the message through to people who wouldn't have wanted to hear the crude story, you know? Because it's a lot to watch. And if you have the impression that it might be a fiction, and I strongly recommend to you to watch the other 10 movies as well, because the story is there. Like, we would interview these women, and it would be like, oh my God, I cannot even wrap my mind around the stories of these women, you know? And this kind of impression that is not true makes it easier for the viewer to swallow it.
Yes, you're very right. There's one more point I will be short because there are other ladies to speak. When we started the conversation, also Rucsandra said, you have a public image. You already built it towards these 20 years. What do you want to do with that? Do you know, I mean, and I asked myself, okay, do I want to be on a TV and say that I have new boots, or do I want to represent the cause? Because people will rather watch somebody they know from somewhere, I don't know, movies or whatever, or where they think they saw me, than somebody in that situation. So we kind of used my image to reach more audience, I think.